Welcome back to episode 34 of the Snatch Chat podcast. I'm Connor. I'm going to be going through a Q&A, I don't know what the hell that is, a Q&A style podcast where we're going to bunch of questions from people that I coach, people in the free school community. A little bit of a plug if you're not in that already, I do not know why. The link is below. Get yourself inside the free Optilift Performance Lab, free community. There's loads of resources in there for you to just learn, understand, and actually improve your Olympic lifting skills. But anyways, we have got a bunch of questions that all sort of focus around equipment, technique. There's some programming and mindset in there. So why don't we just begin? Question number one. I've been training in running shoes for about 8 months and have actually hit my best lifts in them. They feel comfortable. My coach bats on to me about getting some weightlifting shoes. Are they necessary? What would I actually need? Okay. So the thing is with a running shoe, it's really, really foamy. So when you're sort of receiving that bar, you're going to end up sinking into the sole of that shoe. So the ankle's going to be moving about a lot more. It's going to create instability in different parts of that lift. A weightlifting shoe, on the other hand, is super, super solid. It's a solid base, so there's no giving whatsoever, and it's going to actually support your ankle. So weightlifting shoes are good. It's not necessarily something that you need to go out for and buy straight away. If it was me and you were coming in with running shoes and you didn't really want to get weightlifting shoes straight away, Converse, Vans, any sort of trainer that is relatively solid in the sole of the shoe and it's not a running shoe which is really foamy will do the job for now. Okay, and then as you sort of progress through those next sort of couple of months, you'll find that you potentially will start to get Olympic lifting shoes. For the first pair of weightlifting shoes, I would definitely not buy brand new. I would go onto Vinted, search for Nike Romario 3s or Reebok Legacy Lifters in your size. You'll probably find something between 30 and 50 quid, which is better than £200. If you don't like one of the brands, pull them back on Vinted and get the other one. And it's a good way of sort of testing out different shoes because they all fit different, they all feel different on your feet. Find the one that you like, and then when they sort of wear out and you're going to buy yourself your first pair of actually brand new weightlifting shoes, you know which ones to sort of go for and which ones to steer away from. Question number 2. My ankle mobility is really restricted and I can't squat deep without my heels rising off the floor. How much does this limit my Olympic lifts and what should I prioritise? Fixing the mobility or adapting my technique around it? Okay, so the first thing, it's really hard not necessarily seeing the position that you're getting into. Are you in like a nowhere near a squat because your ankle mobility is that bad, or is it the fact that you get into that bottom position but the heels are lifting? Again, inside the Optilift Performance Lab, the free school community that I keep on batting on about every single episode until you all join, there is something called the Feedback Friday, and Feedback Friday you upload your videos, I give you feedback, but this actually gives me that extra bit of information to really make sure that the information that I give you is specific to you. So, go back to that question. The first thing I would sort of look at is how far are you off that squat. If you're sort of nowhere near that squat, like you're in a quarter squat, you're sort of just bending the knee and you can't sink any lower than that. The biggest thing that I would look at here is improving your mobility. There is coaches out there, and I'm definitely not one of these coaches, where they will get you doing the Olympic lifts and not necessarily worrying about the mobility aspect of it, and you'll just end up doing it and you end up doing power snatches, and I think there's loads of things that you can do. Mobility can be improved by stretching, static stretching, dynamic stretching, etc., etc. But a good way of improving your mobility is actually by strengthening it up in those deep ranges. So you might not be able to overhead squat, but we can overhead squat to a certain height of a box and get used to that. So we're getting forced into that deeper position. Then over the weeks we reduce that height down. We can do zombie squats, so we can actually start treating get used to that front squat movement without the restriction of the mobility in the upper body. If it is the ankle mobility is the restriction, we can raise the heels to actually give you that extra bit of range. Lifting shoes would actually help that, but you've got wedges out there what you can stand on that are going to help you into that bottom position. So there's loads of different things that we can do to improve our mobility. It's not necessarily just going 45 minutes a day, stretching until you can end up starting doing these movements. Still get into some aspects of the weightlifting movements, adjust them with aids to help us get into the deep positions. I wouldn't want to try and get away from the deep position, because a good way of getting into that deep position is by increasing the load, so we're getting forced into the bottom, so we're actually strengthening and stabilising that bottom position, as well as supplementing mobility work to help us get into a deeper position. So they both work in tandem, really. Question number 3. I've been self-programming from YouTube for about 18 months. My God, brings back memories, this does, because it's exactly where I started. What is the most common mistake self-coach lifters make that an actual coach spots in the very first session? I think for me, it's pinpointing what the biggest weakness is. When you self-analyse your lifts, you're looking for the things, or for the most part, you're looking to fix those things that you enjoy fixing. Oh, I enjoy power snatches. Oh, I enjoy hang snatches, but I don't enjoy top-down snatches, so I'm not going to work on positional strength, even though I know that is going to be the biggest thing that's going to help me out the most. So you're not necessarily honest with yourself, and you don't pick your lift into pieces, and you'll just go through with a bit of a fine-tooth comb and just pick out the bits that you like and leave the other bits that you don't. Where a coach is really going to like slash it apart, find the areas that we need to fix, what's the domino effects, and it's going to naturally fix the others. How do we start to structure that program? And I think that is important. Like for me, I've had coaches in the past that look at my lifts and pick up things that I didn't pick up on, and potentially then put in the program things that are going to be hard, but is going to test that actual weakness, rather than me just going to the strengths and the things that I enjoy. And I've got something called the OptiLift Pass, so the OptiPass. It's 7 days of free coaching. Down at the OptiLift Performance Lab in Birmingham, or it can actually be done online. I've added the link below. You can access that, put in there whether you're based in Birmingham, or if you're not and you want the online version, put that in and I can get it sent over. But the 7-day OptiPass literally breaks down and pinpoints the exact areas. And I actually work with you with a bunch of different videos to actually to show you what I'm finding in your lifts, and how then we start to put together your program. And you start to look at it at a deeper level. It's definitely something that I'd sort of look at. Yeah, that's the end of that question. Question number 4. I've been invited to join the OpsLift team for the Bullring Bull Challenge on August the 1st. But I've only been lifting 4 months. I worry I won't be able to contribute enough. What would you say to me? So, do not worry about it whatsoever. There's people down there that are going to be doing it in little groups, like groups of 2, to share the load. If you want to share the load, winner, winner. If you just want to be doing it all on your own, winner, winner. We'll stay with you until you get it done. We're a massive team down at the OptiLift Performance Lab. We will work together as a team to actually make sure that you get it done. Either way, as a team or on your own, you're absolutely sorted. And I may as well while I'm here. If you've not seen any of the links, anything that we've seen, we're doing a fundraiser on August 1st. We're lifting the weight of the Bullring Bull, which is 6.5 ton. Only doing snatches and clean and jerks. We're raising money for the club, for flooring, for equipment, so that we can actually then expand the club, start working out with local charities and schools to actually raise the awareness of weightlifting and actually push it out there as this is a positive thing for the community. I'll add it in the link below, the fundraiser link. If you have any small change whatsoever that you can donate to us, that would be, I would be grateful to the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. And the link is below, so yeah, get straight in. Next question. Question number 5. My rear leg in the split jerk is always bent when I receive the bar. My coach says it should be straight, but it feels completely unstable when I try to extend it fully. Is it a bent rear leg always wrong? No. I really probably wouldn't want my back leg to be straight. I've probably spoke about this before in other episodes of podcasts, but in your jerk, your back leg wants to be the bent leg. Okay, you're going to sink into that back knee. Think of it like this. The back leg is the anchor, the front leg is the brake. If your back leg is straight, it's going to push all the way onto your front leg, making you lean forwards. What you want to do is sink into the back knee, so you're going to sink down with the anchor before you put the brake on, okay? So you're always going to make sure in that split position you've got a bent knee in that back leg. You never want it straight. If it's straight, it's going to push the weight forwards, making it harder to stabilise, and the weight's going to be in front of me. You definitely don't want a straight leg. Unless I've got the wrong end of the stick. If I have, pop another question in, or if you're in the group, DM me and let's talk about that in a bit more detail. Okay, I want to start keeping a proper training diary, but I don't know what to actually track. Sets and reps, how I felt, video notes. What does a generally useful training logbook look like for an Olympic lifter? So I know I keep going on about this, but I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. And if it was out there when I was learning, it would have made my life so much easier. But there was nothing out there. I've got something inside the Optilift Performance Lab, the free school community, called the Optilift. It's not. It's called the Weightlifting Workshop. No, it's not. It's Weightlifting Toolbox. Finally get there in the end. This is always a really, really good base to start, because you'll start to understand the lift and breaking it down into that movement. And then you'll go over to the Optilift Blueprint, which is another free resource. And you'll then start to look and learn on how to assess a movement, and actually then start to bring back the focus for your training. So the first thing is you want to be able to highlight the areas that you're working on. Now, once you've highlighted the area that you're working on, you're going to keep a log of how it moves physically and the weights that are getting shifted in the technical drills, accessory-based movements that you're looking to do to overcome said issue. We want to see that the drills that we've used are highlighting and fixing the issue that we want to fix. We then want to have something within that week where we test it within that full movement. As long as each week we can see that a visual improvement is being made technically, perfect. We can always then track the weight as well. So you want to track the technique aspects of it and how it works, or how it looks and feels and moves as the weight builds. And then you also want to then track the weight. I think that's the best way to sort of look at it. I don't think there's one thing you need to track. I think there's multiple things that you need to track. Technique and the way things are moving and feeling, and then also the weight on its own. Another layer to that then is then start tracking sleep, hydration, nutrition, because those three are going to impact the session the next day. So if you track those three areas, you're then going to get a bigger picture on when a session goes good or bad. You know, is it down to, is it just a bad session, or was it anything, one of the other factors that impacted that? So the more information that you track, the more information that you've got to go on or off to make you move forwards. The less you track, the harder it is. You're sort of pissing in the wind, which is not good to anybody. Right, question number 7. What is the difference between a training barbell and a competition barbell? And does the difference actually matter if I'm training at a club? The difference is the quality of the bar. Sometimes it's a sharper than on a competition bar. You'll probably find that there's a little bit more sort of ball bearings in the end, so they spin a little bit better with a little bit smoother bar. The material's a little bit more expensive. The quality is better. You don't want to be using a competition bar in training. You always want to be using a training bar. Don't get used to just using competition bars. The gym I used to train at, will not mention the names, they always used to get out the Alico competition bars because it was cool, because they got them from a flipping grant through a university. Still not mentioning any names of the club. But if you get used to a competition bar, it's going to scrape all the skin off your collarbone in your cleans because of how sharp the knurling is. The knurling is sharper because you want better grip in a competition. When you're doing volume, you definitely don't want that. And if you always train with the very best equipment, in my eyes, and you go to a competition and it's subpar, you're not prepared for it. But if you train using training bars, maybe even battered bars, or bars that aren't necessarily in perfect condition, and different sort of plates, you get used to the different things and the different ways things move. So when you go to competition and you've got perfect surrounding, now things are getting really you're getting really confident with it. You're getting excited about it. Everything's feeling really good because the bar is snappy and sharp. Practice that in training, then go into a competition and something's below par. you're just making your life a lot harder. Question number 8. How do you stay motivated through months where nothing seems to change? I genuinely love this sport, but there are weeks I question why I'm still showing up. It's a good question. Why are you showing up? You enjoy the sport. Sometimes it might well be that you just need a slight adaptation in your training program, rather than just focusing on, I'm going to push this side to all that, pushing those weights to hit a PB. You're going to go other areas that are going to impact or improve my weightlifting performance. Squat strength, pulling strength, strength, speed off the floor, deadlifts. Or is it more, I just need to pack on a little bit more muscle so I'm actually moving better? Maybe you just need to shake things up a little bit. Find that fire. Sometimes it is just like, I'm going to have less of a focus on this, more of a focus on this because this is one of my weaknesses. Then when I go back into my weightlifting focus next training cycle, you'll probably find that it's pushing a little bit more. So maybe you probably want just a couple of weeks off, less weightlifting, a bit sort of more bodybuilding or strength focus, static strength focus, to just shift that focus and give you something, just something that feels a little bit fresher. Sometimes that's all that matters. Other times it might well be that you just need to take your foot off the gas a little bit, bring it down, and then build it back up. You've got to find out what works for you. What is it that's making you feel like you're generally losing motivation? Is it because you're not seeing weight on the bar moving up consistently? If that is the case, you need to shift that focus to other areas. There's different things we can assess. Are we moving better? Is our static strength getting better? Are we actually packing on more muscle so we're holding better positions? Yeah, basically, flip the process. Think of the other areas that are going to impact your performance, like technique, and are you lifting better? And then maybe it's something about, no, I'm going to take the next 16 weeks to work on static strength. A bit less weightlifting. At the end of that, I now know I'm stronger in my squat bench, my squat and deadlifts and push press, strict press. Then I'm going to go back into weightlifting and actually utilize that extra strength that I've gained. Yeah, that's what I would say. So question number 9. This is the final question. Is it normal to feel completely wiped out for 2 to 3 days after a competition, even when you didn't compete at your maximum weight? What is happening physically, and what should recovery look like? Yeah, I think the thing that's more fatiguing at a competition rather than physically is the mental, the psychological games. That concentration, knowing that you've got 3 lifts, trying to sort of work the board, making sure that you've warmed up in enough time. There's loads of different stressors. Now you've got 3 judges in front of you and a crowd, and you're still warming up, but you're next out and you've not quite hit that weight, and now you're rushing that warm up, but then as you sort of get up to the bar, you need to try and regain that focus before you lift. There's loads of different stressors that are going to massively impact your training. That is going to fatigue you. And there's no real way of practicing any of that apart from just getting into more competitions. You'll probably find that the more competitions you do, you're better at working with these stressors. So you probably won't feel so sort of tired afterwards. But it's a lot on the body. 3 snatches, 3 clean jerks in a specific time. You can't choose when to go. It's really, really stressful. And I am actually going to be running something in September. I've not put anything out there yet, but just to sort of get the feelers out. I'm looking to put together a sort of a pre-competition comp run-through workshop down at the Oxlift Performance Lab. And the idea of this workshop is to sort of show people what to expect from a competition, how they work, how to read the board, how to know when to sort of warm up, how the lift goes, what are you waiting for before you can drop the bar. All these are stressors, and I think sometimes it's really good to understand it, and that's what the workshop is going to be. We're going to have a mock competition, and it's going to be very sort of stop-start, and we're going to understand and read the board, move on. Okay, understand and read when we need to go out, how do we change the weight on the bar if we want to increase the weight, and just understand what and how to read a competition. And from there, then later on in the year, probably like November, December time, we're going to run a weightlifting competition. So for those people on that workshop, then can action what they've learned from that workshop, their training cycle, and then chuck it out of that competition. And these are the things that I flipping love, because as I've said all along, probably every single episode since we've started this, which is 34 episodes, I've probably always mentioned that I want to build a community. Everything's about being a community and making weightlifting more accessible and making it easier to understand and learn the Olympic lifts, but there's also the competition side of it. Competitions look daunting. Let's open it up. Let's show that it's actually just a big training day. And there's, things are a little bit different, but you don't need to overcomplicate it. And I think now we're sort of setting up the weightlifting club. It's starting to unravel, and it's starting to really blossom into something that I'm really, really proud of. Just keep up to date. I'm putting up some emails out there, so if you're not in the email list, I've got a link below. Join the email list, and we keep up to date with all the things that are coming up over the next sort of couple of months. But that is the end of episode 34. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, so we can keep on pushing out this podcast. I flipping love doing it. And I shall see you in the next one for episode 35. Ciao.